Hey everyone, it's Pat, and today I'm filming my June wrap-up. For the month of June, I only read 14 books, which is less than half of what I read last month. Well, the month of May. So, yeah, but the reason behind that is because of Korean dramas. I've been watching Korean dramas non-stop for the month of June, and yeah. Korean dramas. I've been watching Korean dramas after Korean dramas, like marathoning them and not stopping. So for the first two books that I read for the month of June, I have Rebel Angels and The Sweet Poor Thing by Libba Bray. These books are massive. I don't know if you could see because of the glare or anything, but yeah, these are the first two books that I read. And they're the second and third book on the Gemma Doyle trilogy, and I really enjoy this. Rebel Angels I rated 4 stars, and Sweet Poor Thing I rated 4.5 stars. The thing that I found about the Gemma Doyle trilogy is that it was pretty hard to empathize with Gemma, the main protagonist, because she grew up in a very conservative, I'd like to say, yeah, definitely conservative society, because it was like late 1800s, so it was very conservative. I found it a little hard to understand her and the way she thinks and the way her priorities and stuff like that, so yeah, but I really enjoyed reading it. I haven't read a lot of which books, novels, yeah. But they're pretty popular nowadays, so I'm planning to read more of stuff like this. The next book that I read is My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. This is a contemporary, and I really enjoyed it. I rated it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this book, and I haven't read the second book, which was what I thought was true, which is sort of, I think, like a companion novel. But I really enjoyed My Life Next Door. It tackles a lot of different topics, you know, about family and different kinds of families and societies, and yeah, I really enjoyed reading it. The fourth book that I read is Half Bad by Sally Green. This is the first book in the Half-Life series, and this is the first, yeah, it came out this year, and I really enjoyed it. This is it has a very unique tone to it, and the way it was told was also very unique, and the mythology, I'd like to say, of the story is also very unique. It deals with witches as well, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I definitely will be reading the next book. It has a very unique tone and unique way. It has a very unique way of, it's pretty unique. Yeah, but I really enjoyed that. Okay, the next is Switch, Torn, and Ascend. 5th, 6th, and 7th books that I read. Those three are part of a trilogy, which is the trilogy by Amanda Hocking, and I rated Switch 3 stars, Torn 3 stars, and Ascend 4 stars. I read it really fast. It was a fast and light read, definitely, and I got through them quite easily. I just found the main character dealing with the whole thing very easily. It's like, she grew up normally, you know, like a normal teenager, but when she was told that she was a fairy, it was just like, okay, I'm a fairy. You don't really deal a lot about how she accepts that fact, that she is a fairy, supposedly mythical creature. She was just like, oh, okay, I'm a fairy, and apparently I'm a fairy princess, and she was just totally okay with it. I didn't see her struggling accepting the fact. It was just, okay, I have to train about all of this, and she's just complaining that it's too hard and all that. But I wanted to see how she accepts the story, how she comes to terms that she's a fairy. and I didn't see that. It was just like, okay, I'm a fairy, and I'm a fairy princess at that, and I'm totally fine with that. It's just really hard to be a princess because I'm not like this. And first of all, you're a fairy, a supposedly mythical creature. How are... Yeah, that's my main issue. Okay, the 8th book that I read is The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings, which is her debut novel, and she's also a booktuber, which is, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's very unique. The society is very different. It's definitely post-apocalyptic, not really post-apocalyptic, but yeah, it's a dystopian society, and you know, it deals with how you're gonna be in the future supposedly. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and there's definitely a lot of political stuff going on in this story, which I really enjoyed. And I'm really excited to read the second book, the next books, because I want to see where the story is going. I want to see it dwell more in the politics of the story, because I think if the books are gonna deal heavily on the political side of that world, I think it's going to be very interesting and very unique how the story would go, I think. So I hope it will go in very political ways on the next few books, you know, how they deal with, you know, the character. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, I think you will get it if you've read the book. It's really good. I rated it 4 stars. And then I read Jenny Han's To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and I really enjoyed it. This is a very cute story, and I love how the story went. And I definitely will be waiting for P.S. I Still Love You, because I want to know who that is. I definitely am leaning over to Peter's side, because Josh is just like there, and you know, he's the ex-boyfriend of the sister, and it's just a complete mess if you completely threw that out of the window. If Josh suddenly likes Letter Jean, you know, that would just not really make sense to me, because they've known each other for the longest time, and then he became the boyfriend of her sister, and then suddenly he likes Letter Jean. I hope that doesn't happen. I know there's definitely pointers and markers and stuff that kind of says that Josh likes Letter Jean, and I guess that's a big possibility, but I hope that Josh does not pursue Letter Jean, because that would just make a mess of things, you know? And I love the sisters together. They definitely have their own faults, especially Margot? What's the name of the I forgot the name of the older sister, but yeah. And one of the reasons, but not the main reason why I read this book, is because I went to the Jenny Han book signing, which was on the 26th, I think. Yeah. So I'm gonna put a picture somewhere here, and yeah, I met her and she's so cute. Okay, yeah, so To All the Boys I've Loved Before. And I also want to read Burn for Burn and Fire with Fire. I got the title right? Yeah. I will definitely be reading those books. I just need to buy them. Yes. Okay. So the 10th book that I read is Hollowland, which is the first in the Hollow series by Amanda Hocking, and the 11th is Hollow Men, the second book. I think it's only a duology. I really enjoyed the story. It's a unique take. It's a zombie post-apocalyptic story, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm gonna put a spoiler somewhere on the screen so that you guys will know that I'm completely spoiling the story. But yeah, I would have liked if the story had dwelt with explaining scientifically how they were immune. What makes them immune? I mean, of course there has to be something. It has to be maybe in their blood, in their biological stuff, you know. I wanted that explained. I like scientific stuff like that. I want stuff to be explained scientifically, especially if it's about zombies and stuff, you know. Yeah, so I I really would have liked it if it was explained, you know, somewhere in the story. But I guess it didn't have room for it because it's more about survival and how they were going to survive and stuff like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I rated it both 4 out of 5 stars because I did enjoy it. I just hope that it dwelt with, you know, that thing. Yeah. It's a very fast read too. It's very light and fast. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of their romantic relationship though. I wish it would have developed more. I wish we would have seen the characters interact with each other and get to know each other more before it became like real romantic stuff, you know. Yeah, it was a little too hurried for me. Okay, so the 12th book that I read is My Blood Approves by Amanda Hocking herself. I just wanted to, you know, I really wanted to understand, see, and know Amanda Hocking's writing style. And Amanda Hocking's writing style is very light and fast. And yeah, it's very young adult, her writing. I didn't really like My Blood Approves. Well, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. The fact that it deals with vampires and the main character found out that the guy was a vampire and his family is a vampire, kind of like Edward Cullen, you know, vampire stuff, it kind of, she doesn't really, you know, she grasps the thing, the fact, very hurriedly, not very hurriedly, but quite hurriedly. I hope she dwelt more with it. It's the same thing with the trilogy, not as much, but I hope it dwelt more with how she would have had to come to terms with the fact that the guy was a vampire and, you know, yeah, and I want to know how it goes because there's this imprint thing. I want to call it like the Twilight with the werewolves. They have this imprint thing between the vampires, and I wanted to know why there were 2 guys she was being drawn to. One is definitely, she's more drawn to the other one, but she's also drawn to the other one in sort of the same way, but not as strong. So I wanted that explained. But I haven't read any of the books in the series yet because I really didn't enjoy My Blood Approves. It was just like treading the water. It could have dwelled more into the story. I wanted more to it. But yeah. I rated it none because I didn't know how to rate it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it. There's so much thing that I wanted to change about the story. Yeah. Okay, the next book that I read is Towering by Alex Flynn. This is part, I don't know if this is part of a series because when I went to Goodreads it wasn't part of any series, but I know that Alex Flynn wrote Beastly, the fairy tale retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and this is the fairy tale retelling of Rapunzel. It's very unique. I enjoyed reading it. I just didn't really empathize with the characters too much. We don't really get to know the characters very much, you know. They don't have a lot of layers that I love with characters. But yeah, and the romance was very hurry, like you just met and yeah, it's kind of like in the fairy tales, but I would have liked to have it develop more because it's a retelling. You get to change how the characters get to fall in love. It's not I really wanted it not to be an instant love, you know. So yeah, and the last book that I read is Let the Sky Fall by Shannon Messenger. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, and there's definitely a lot of twists and turns in the story which I really enjoyed. I've also finished reading the second book, but I read it this month, July, and yeah, I really enjoyed that too. So I'm currently, by the way, I'm currently reading Angelology, and I just finished reading Alienated. What am I currently reading? I'm currently reading a book. I don't know. I remember what it is. Why can't I remember what it is? Those are all the 14 books that I read for the month of June. I really hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!